Phil Brooks, or better known as CM Punk, the former pro wrestling superstar, recently had his second professional mixed martial arts fight ever in the UFC 225 pay-per-view up against Mike Jackson. Now, in this video, I'm going to try and keep it as short and sweet as possible and just give you my thoughts and opinions, as the title would suggest, about the actual fight that happened and what I think the future holds for CM Punk. Before we get into that all, let's talk about his very first fight. It was up against Mickey Gall, a much more younger, stronger, talented, far more experienced opponent, and well, he did what we all thought he might do, and that was absolutely destroy CM Punk, taking him down almost immediately, beating him up on the ground and sinking in a rear naked choke submission, making Punk tap out within the first round. Not a very impressive debut, but nonetheless, before we get to the second fight which just happened, I also want to give you my feelings about this whole process. You know, CM Punk, former WWE Pro Wrestling megastar, and now here he is just suddenly transitioning into the world of mixed martial arts. And not only that, he's not starting off in the amateurs, fighting his way up on underground shows or anything like that. He's taking a shortcut and he's using his fame and credibility to put him right there at the UFC. The UFC, who has gone on record in saying before in the past that it wants to be a legitimate sport. It wants to be up there with all the big names like the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, the NHL. Well, you get the point. But CM Punk going into the UFC really just sets the sport of mixed martial arts so far back, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, you know I'm a fan of professional wrestling, and I'm also a fan of mixed martial arts. But this whole process was just depressing in a way. This shouldn't have been. And the UFC only did this because, well, UFC's a name, and CM Punk's a big name, and if we bring CM Punk in, that means a lot of money. Needless to say, it was just a quick cash grab, but not once, it's now twice. It's not a good look. Well, anyway, let's get to the fight. So it's UFC 225, CM Punk versus Mike Jackson, both fighters being 0-1. Mike Jackson, who pretty much is a tomato can in the world of mixed martial arts, not all that great. In fact, the only experience he has to boast about is that he has a bit of a background in boxing. And although I definitely saw that in the fight, yeah, it still didn't spell anything good for CM Punk. In fact, it spelled disaster yet again. CM Punk, who, before getting into the world of mixed martial arts or combat sports in general, has also said in passing interviews that he has a bit of a background in Kempo Karate. And well, as time would go on, the internet would expose him and see that that is absolutely not true at all, because there's absolutely no evidence that would suggest that. Sure, maybe he took a class or two, but there's really no, evidence that shows CM Punk has any type of experience in Kempo Karate. I mean, just look at this man's stand-up when he's fought on both occasions. He looked incredibly awkward, incredibly off balance. You know, as someone who's watched hundreds, maybe even thousands of mixed martial arts fights, I just thought, this guy is so far out from his element, and what I'm seeing is a joke. But then again, there is that other side of people who say, well, he had heart, and he was just chasing his passion, so good for him. How can you hate the man? And I can understand that, and I don't hate the man, but I just think in the world of mixed martial arts, there is no room for shortcuts, and this guy took the biggest shortcut available, and like I said, he got exposed. So yeah, in this fight against Mike Jackson, CM Punk just looked really off balance, even out of shape too, looking a little bit flabby. I mean, even brushing his hair constantly out of his face. He just did not belong in the UFC. And to say that this type of thing has happened twice now is absolutely embarrassing. So CM Punk went 3 rounds with Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson, for the most part, I think could have easily finished CM Punk, but chose to play with him. And play with him he did. Beating him up, bloodying him up. CM Punk didn't get the result he wanted, but then again, as someone who was just a fan of mixed martial arts, I mean, he got the ultimate experience of becoming a fighter. And, well, can you hate him for that? I don't know. It's a really a bizarre experience that we've all just witnessed. But hey, this is the world we live in. So what does the future hold for CM Punk? Well, Dana White has already said, as president of the UFC, he does not want to see CM Punk fight again, and I don't think he will. He even cut Mike Jackson from the UFC, the guy who won. I think that's got to be a first, right? Dana White releasing somebody who won a fight? That's crazy. But understandable when you hear his reasonings for it. So yeah, CM Punk, what's he do now? Does he fight somewhere else? Does he go back to professional wrestling? Personally, I just hope that he takes some time off, go under the radar for a while, and then maybe somewhere down the line in the future make an appearance at some professional wrestling show. Even if it's not to have a match, just be there and show your respect for the sport or entertainment, or let's say sports entertainment that made you famous in the first place. That's what I'd like to see. But when it comes to CM Punk, mixed martial arts, yeah, hell no, that's gotta stop. But anyway, this has been my thoughts and opinions on CM Punk and the UFC 225 fight. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. This is definitely a different style of video that I've done, unlike anything else before. So if I get some likes on this, maybe even some positive feedback, I'll gladly do some more. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.